I just want to, before I introduce Bob, I want to give a little bit of a update what's going on in the court, because this is what I do every other week with the CMBA and this task force. Is the judges, we started on March the 2nd, a docket called the Pandemic Response Docket. And what that is for low-level felonies, criminal low-level felonies. We've brought them, there's a backlog of cases on those. And what we're trying to do is, rather than present it to a grand jury, we have set them up for this response docket, the pandemic response docket in our arraignment. What we do is try to assign a lawyer to the defendant who's charged with these low-level felonies. And the goal is to see if they'll waive presentment to a grand jury. What will then happen is the prosecutor's office has been working with us, the public defenders, the criminal defense bar has been tremendous on this. And we're trying to infuse those low-level felonies back into our courtrooms. And it started this week. I'm pretty excited about it. It's starting to work, but you know, we'll see what happens. Nobody is waiving, just so you know, so people don't say, what are you doing? The defense lawyer and the defendant has a chance to communicate with each other. And if in fact the defendant doesn't feel comfortable with doing this or feels like he wants to think about it, we move on. The case just keeps going on the prosecutor's track for arraignment, to the indictment process to get to the arraignment. Otherwise, I mean, we're thinking, boy, there's folks out there, low-level felonies sitting in our community who want to get their cases resolved and want to get things done or need treatment. And we're, you know, what are we doing? So because of this virus, we haven't been able to get those folks through the grand jury process. So we're trying to, this was our idea. As I said from the very beginning, we're building the ship as we are sailing out to sea. And I'll keep you apprised on how it's working. But so far, I'm excited about that. Just another update for everybody. April 26th is our trial dates, the judges. We have April 26th. I say that to the bar because I want everyone to think, is this really going to happen? I'm putting my hand on, I believe the 26th is like right on the, I think we're hitting that sweet spot. I think it's going to happen. But what does that mean for others? We're going to start slow. I mean, we're not just going to open up the courthouse and say, all right, try your cases. We're going to do it like we did back in September. We're going to start a little slower than normal. We're going to start with the criminal cases and then see how it goes. And then in the next couple of weeks after we start slow, we're going to infuse, if you will, infuse, it seems to be the word of the day, infuse the civil cases into that matrix. So what does that mean for the civil bar? I'm looking like if you have a case that's going to trial, think May, early May, if not sooner. So I just want to throw that out there. Keep that on your radar so no one's thinking what we're forgetting about civil cases. That's not true. And then the final point I just want to make before I give to Mr. Coury is I did have a chance to join in with Andy Goldwasser, Dave, Frank DeSantis, and others on the civil mediation arbitration committee. And I reached out to them for pros and cons, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what can stay after this pandemic, what other things can we do. So looking forward to that report. I don't think we'll get it today, but that report will be our next meeting that we'll hear from them. So with that being said, I want to, I mentioned the last time we got together that there's been a lot of discussion about interim central booking, what is going on, what's happening, where's the court on this? And I'm sorry, Judge Cassandra Collier-Williams, your phone's not muted, sorry. I asked, I wanted to just tell people what's happening and where we are on that. And so Mr. Coury has been gracious enough to give us this presentation. And then I know Judge Early and myself have been communicating with each other. So Bob, I will turn it over to you. let you talk about it, and then we can take questions. All right.
All right. Thank you, Judge. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen first. And so I want to thank the CMBA and Judge Sheehan and Becky for setting this up and giving us the opportunity to do this presentation. Let me put this in play mode. Hey, Becky, when I put this in play mode, can you tell me what screen are you seeing? The notes, no notes on the side? Are you seeing this?
Notes on the side, yes.
All right. I'll just make that a little smaller then. Okay. So I want to thank you for the opportunity. It's overdue, and this is a great time to be able to make this presentation for what is central booking in the Cuyahoga County Jail. So the mission of central booking, and by going over the mission, I'm going to talk about what it is that during in the criminal arrest and arraignment process, that's where the focus is. It's not the entire criminal justice system. It's during the arrest and arraignment process. This is not central booking reform. The current one that's pending is not trying to be a be all and end all from arrest through sentencing disposition and sentencing uniformity. It is a focus on arrest and arraignment so that the arrestees are treated fairly with dignity and respect, of course, and are diverted from the criminal justice system when appropriate. You know, that part of the mission statement is there purposely because, as you know, the counties focus on diversion whenever possible, and the fact that very soon, in the next couple months, we should be able to open up our interim diversion center with 150 beds, 50 mental health, 50 drug, 50 combination mental health and drug beds, and that they're charged justly and properly. So because the focus is on arrest and arraignment, bringing all the folks necessary to make the charges, that this is the best opportunity to make sure that they're charged correctly, that there's advocacy, at least right there at the charging and bond phase from the public defender, and that partly that's where provided counsel, that public defender at the earliest opportunity for bond and charge representation. And they're released on, and you'll see this reflected in the criminal rule, and are released on the least costly financial conditions and least restrictive non-financial conditions. For example, that could be an ankle bracelet that will reasonably assure public safety and appearance at court. So the foundation for central booking has gone back many years and many reports. One of the latest of the reports was the NCSC report back in 2015. But for some of us, folks like Judge Sheehan back when he was a prosecutor, and Subodh Chandra when he was a city prosecutor, we were working on trying to get central booking done in 2005. Failed attempt, but here we are again, and with I think a lot better momentum and many lessons learned. So the key objectives are instituting multi-agency prosecutorial reviews. I don't know why we're saying it that fancy, making sure that the city of Cleveland and the county prosecutor, I'm going to jump ahead to this slide because it doesn't include the suburbs at this point. So this is the slide where we talk about what it's not. So instituting multi-agency prosecutorial reviews, including Cleveland felony cases by both the city and the county prosecutors. And they're going to be together physically and spiritually and policy-wise right at the front end when the officer pulls into the sally port with the offender to be able to do review with the booking sergeant that incident report, which will be prepared before the officer leaves so that they can make the right charge. Is this really a felony, or is this a robbery that's really should be a theft case, because there wasn't much of a shove there. Assigning those county prosecutors and defense counsel at the earliest possible stage for that charge and bond advocacy, as I talked about. Early referral to specialty courts, and later Judge Sheehan and Andrea Canasta are going to talk about a slide I'm going to show later about their vision for pretrial services being brought in at the earliest stages, right in the central booking process. Redesigning the existing space, right? So the space is not compatible with any of the things I'm describing or about to describe. Continued use of validated risk assessments, and to provide Common Police Court the ability to do pretrial assessments within minutes, within hours, if not minutes of the arrest and transport into the central booking. And then, of course, by doing all this and getting the offender a first appearance as soon as possible, reducing the average length of pretrial detention. And then throughout the day, as opposed to one 9 o'clock appearance in Cleveland Municipal Court, right? Multiple municipal court appearances. And we've talked to Judge Early about this, and they're already beginning the planning together with her Chief of Staff, Mike Negre, about how they will have those hearings throughout the day, so that if you come in after midnight the day before, you're not going to be stuck in the jail for another 24-hour period simply because you missed the 9 o'clock docket. And then establishing ways, of course, to measure the performance, right? Measure the cost of what we're doing and efficiency. So metrics for being able to report back the good, the bad, and the ugly are going to be very important for the stakeholders. So this is what central booking is not. It does not include at this point in the phase one, the suburban jurisdictions. Just like when we had rolled this out in the past, as far as like early charging, trying to bite off the whole county, we knew at Jump Street was a recipe for disaster. So what we decided to do was, since there's an existing contract with the city of Cleveland where we're acting as their jail already, and the city of Cleveland represents the vast majority of cases that come through the jail, phase one would include city of Cleveland. It ain't no pilot. It is the lion's share of the work that comes through there, and as a result, it's plenty to do. So they're at the table. They've already identified their processes for central booking, I'm talking about the city of Cleveland, identified staffing requirements. And we just had another sub-work group meeting with the jail and the city of Cleveland Police Department and management yesterday, going over the actual workflow. So there's a presentation we're doing, there's a presentation that we're doing for the city of Euclid this Friday. So it could include the city of Euclid because we're there, the jail, but that's going to be determined by, by the judge. And so we'll do the presentation, get him, let him understand what it is. And if he's amenable to participating in the early phase of this, that will also give the suburban courts an opportunity to see what Euclid's doing with this. So that's TBD. The first meeting and presentation, more deep than I'm doing now, with the judges on Friday. So it does not, this process does not contemplate early case disposition, right? This has nothing to do with trying to resolve cases at that arrest and arraignment phase. This is appropriate representation as it relates to charging and bond. It does not alter the indigent defense counsel appointment by common pleas and how that will continue to work at the common pleas first appearance. So the timeline, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I'm going to let you know that this current version of central booking began the planning in August of 2019 with the steering committee meeting, and with the identification of the lack of central booking, the fact that it had been contemplated over the years and needed to be done if we were going to talk about jail replacement, all the way through council awarding on February 25th of last year, the Ozanne Bowen contract for design build construction for $825,000. So that was done. And then coming up next week, March 16th, is the County Council Committee consideration of the legislation that would pay for the $2.4 million renovation of the jail. So that legislation has not been approved yet. It is subject to review on 3/16 at the committee meeting, the safety committee meeting. So the existing situation in the facility itself and policy, it doesn't support any work area for law enforcement. So what happens is police bring offenders to the jail, arrestees, right, and they literally pull into the Sally Port can't see at the top of the picture, and there's no place for them to get their incident reports done. There's no interview space for the public defender or for pretrial services of any sort to be able to, right there in the central booking, do the interviews of the arrestees, to prepare for bond, to prepare for potential for diversion courts. There's no area for confidential medical interview or examination. As many of you know, the jail contracts with Metro Health as its healthcare staff. You know, the medical examination that are done later up in the jail. This gives the opportunity, central booking, to have the medical interview or examination right there with some decent with decent conditions for them to provide their medical services. There's no waiting or holding space, very limited waiting or holding space for inmates, forcing, again, people to have to go up into housing, which further delays the process. There's no space for collaboration or discussion between the city and the county prosecutor or with the public defender with regard to bond or appropriate charging. There's no open waiting areas for inmates to sit, where they can be treated with dignity and open waiting. There's only secure holding cells. There's no space or video access for court appearances. There's limited capacity in the room because it's small and it's outdated. There's limited ability to supervise the operations. There's very limited line of sight, and there's limited access to phones for inmates. So a contemporary central booking takes into account the ability right from central booking to have video arraignments, to have pretrial court services available right there, to have a clean facility with, you can see here in the lower left picture, open waiting, where they literally sit in chairs waiting for their case to be called, or to be called up to meet with the public defender, or to meet with an officer if they want to talk to the officer about why they shouldn't be here. And there's no initial reception areas. So the initial concept, this was a major renovation for the third floor. I wanted to put this slide in here because it's goes to the cost conscientiousness of the administration. So there was a major renovation of the third floor in the jail, in which a certain area was going to be put inside, a secure perimeter was going to be created around it, and there was a lot of square footage. It was a Cadillac plan, but with that came a Cadillac price of, I think, just over $7 million. And because we're ultimately going to have a new jail, there's no question about it. We're already into site location for the new jail. That $7 million was a bridge too far for the administration, and I concur for what it's worth. And so we went back to the drawing board with a scale back plan to have the central booking in the P1 area next to the Sally Port, and to do still major construction down there, but this plan comes with a price tag of $2.4 million. Now, I've talked about some of the services that outline it, but I think it's better to talk about them as we see them in the physical structure themselves, and then I might go into some more detail on each one of them. So we talked about the fact that, now we're going to have an initial reception and medical screening area, you'll see right there, and a diversion desk, right? So right there, we're going to be able to liaison to, let's say, our diversion center to say, we know you brought this in as an arrest, and we know that you determined, or you may have not thought about the fact that this was an eligible diversion candidate. But right there at the reception area, because there will be a Cleveland Police Department booking sergeant on site, an early determination right at the initial reception could be made to redivert this back out to the diversion center. So keeping in line with the mission statement of divert whenever it is appropriate, do that right up front and back the car right out, and please take the offender to an appropriate diversion center. There's that law enforcement workroom you'll see now that doesn't currently exist. And there's a commitment from the Cleveland Police Department that they were going to staff the requisite number of officers and supervisors in order for law enforcement to get their incident reports done before they ever leave the Sally the Sally Port before they ever leave the jail. And you all know the importance of an incident report. A prosecutor can't do anything without it. A public defender can't begin to think about what an appropriate charge or bond might be, right, without that incident report. And pretrial services needs it because they need to understand what the alleged facts are. So now there's going to be a law enforcement workroom in order for them to get their work done and to collaborate with each other on appropriate charging. There's going to be conference and interview with video capability. So for other folks like prosecutors, public defenders, potentially there's a pretrial services area we'll get to. And that's where Judge Sheehan and Andrea Canast are going to come in and talk about pretrial services from the common pleas perspective. But this could be used for multiple stakeholders so that they can either interview people right there on site or have the ability to have remote visitation. And with the onslaught of COVID and all the opportunities and things that we've learned about Zoom and Teams meetings and WebEx, we're not going to lose that momentum. And throughout the infrastructure will be the ability to have, you'll see remote meetings throughout central booking. So that there will be a nice new temporary holding area for those that, let's say they're experiencing mental health crises, right? And they cannot be in the open waiting area. There'll be a nicer temporary holding area with showers there so that for those situations in which hygiene is a problem, there's going to be the opportunity for showers and temporary holding right there too. The ability to dress in right there. So dress in means that they're going to be moving from their street clothes into the jail clothes. So it'll be all integrated right there. And then there's that open waiting area that currently doesn't exist. That I think it's up to 25 people can be sitting there, waiting their turn, depending upon what's next in the process for them, whether it's a public defendant interview, pretrial services interview, waiting to be booked in, if they're going to be charged, etc. So the booking desk is right there too. So the jail booking desk will have line of sight into the open waiting area, and the jail booking personnel will be able to communicate, and there will be a database, an IT solution that shows how the inmates are progressing through central booking. And there's a work group already working on identifying data fields in various stakeholder systems to be integrated, using interfaces into a single central booking kind of UI, user interface. There's that mental health screening that currently is not available. So it'll be good offices and separation for private medical screening with the inmates, with good facilities for the Metro Health staff to be able to do those important mental health screenings. That not only could be determined whether or not the person needs immediate, if it was missed on initial reception, medical or mental health treatment, but will help with classification and appropriate placement inside the jail. And then there was going to be a dedicated place for pretrial services, common pleas, and Cleveland Municipal, right here with interview capability should they need to have remote discussions either with an inmate or with their staff outside of this pretrial services area. And that's the last slide on that one. So with that, I want to have the judge and Andrea talk a little bit about what their vision for pretrial services at the common pleas level would mean for central booking in a unprecedented way. Oh yeah, I forgot. There's one more bullet. And then obviously, we need to get them a first appearance. So we will be able to support right there video appearance directly into municipal courts, Judge Early's 3D room with private attorney client interview, and of course the video capability. So now we're going to turn over to the central booking brings centralized pretrial services in one. And so with that, I'll turn it over to either the judge or Andrea.
Thanks, Bob. I truly, I always wanted to say, I do not feel that this whole process of central booking, that we're trying to take over the municipal courts and we're trying to be the only game in town. That's not our goal here. But when we got involved in this, Judge Early and I, we've got a great relationship, and our collaboration is that after Cleveland has processed and done their thing at the Cleveland municipal level, and the case is coming to us, we want to see people get help when they can get help. And what we decided is putting forward our pretrial services in that where Mr. Coury showed you in that area. So we'll have our criminal record staff, which we already have there, not up front, but once we get involved with the case, we'll put our probation department, court supervised release officers up front. We'll have our GPS unit, GPS pretrial services, all working collaborative down there, where this is helpful with Cleveland. If Cleveland has a question about, well, we don't know, we have that collaboration over there. The thing that we don't have, and this is the beauty of what they're talking about, is we can put in that mental health, a potential mental health specialist who will help assist with the community linkage and release of that individual. And we'll also put in a licensed screener to help determine appropriate referral for specialty programs. As everyone on this call knows, we have specialty courts, we have veterans courts, we have drug courts, we've got mental health courts, we've got reentry courts. What else do we have? Domestic violence courts. We have all these specialty courts, and we can get them. I mean, think about it. Rather than someone under the old system is being brought in, sitting in a jail, waiting for their case to get on a track, or waiting for whatever the process was, delay, we're expediting it and getting people the help that they need. And Andrew, do you want to add on anything on that? But I really think, I mean, but with Judge Early's and collaboration with the Cleveland Municipal Courts, our folks will be up front in that office space, and there'll be great communication. And I think, truthfully, what are we trying to do? Get people the help that they need. And anything else you want to add?
No, Judge, I think you touched on it perfectly. I think the court, we already do a lot with our bail investigators, doing in-person interviews. We do have court supervised release for people who are on pretrial supervision. We have GPS, but bringing them all together under one umbrella with, like Judge said, the mental health specialists and eligibility screeners will really provide a nice package of services for people the moment that they touch our door.
All right, Bob, back to you.
Thanks, Judge. Thanks, Andrea. Back to the slide. Why are you fighting me? Okay. So it's been proven successful. I mean, we know that Orange County, Florida, this is a Cadillac plan again, but you're going to, when we have the new jail, you're going to see something similar to this demonstration that there's been an impact on the average daily population, and that has been maintained. And again, I don't think that jail population reduction is the be all and end all. I do believe that the first and foremost, you're going to make better decisions that impact the lives of inmates. And why do we care about that? Because, well, we're human, but two, better results is a reduction in recidivism. If you can make better decisions about how to manage a case earlier in the process, it's going to lead to better outcomes in the end, and that's going to reduce recidivism. You have to reduce the jail population, because without question, it is going to reduce the time between original arrest and first appearance, and is going to reduce the time it takes for common police court to make specialty court determinations, because they will have front-loaded pretrial services assessments. So Camden County, New Jersey, the same thing, proven successful. And I'm going to provide the PowerPoint and a PDF to everyone. Harris County, there was actually opportunity for many of us to see Harris County during COVID by a kind of a guided tour virtually. And boy, talk about a Cadillac plan. It was something else out there. But again, reduced incidents and injuries. They talked about reduced drugs in the jail, and of course, reduction in the time between arrest and first appearance. So phase one is the Cuyahoga County and City of Cleveland, as we talked about. Why do it now? You know, why not? Why wait till we have a new jail? Because we're going to miss these opportunities to develop and implement the policies and procedures. It's going to be years before we have a new jail. And the quality of life of our inmates is important now, just on that basis alone. But by developing and implement the policies and procedures, you guys know how government works. It's going to take us some time to get the wrinkles once we go live, you know, in September, because that construction could, if council approves this, you know, we're talking about a go live, and if they approve it right now, a go live in say September. Once we hit September, it's going to take time to get the wrinkles out, right? And continue to refine our policies and confirm the staffing requirements, because we're already making estimates about staffing requirements. Judge Sheehan's working on staffing requirements. City of Cleveland Police Department's working on staffing requirements because they're going to put a booking sergeant right in central booking, and others are. City of Cleveland Law Department, because central booking will at a minimum run the first and second shift, is going to require staffing in a second shift that doesn't currently exist, because we're going to have court appearances throughout the evening and continue to charge folks. Don't just put them up in the jail. We need to validate our processes through metrics before we get to a new jail. And we need to see the impact that central booking and our diversion center is going to have on jail population, because that's going to continue to inform the size of the jail. I mean, we're anticipating building a jail with a population max of 1,600 with a rated capacity of like 1,380. But the more we can learn about what we can maintain in terms of the average daily population now, could inform the size of the jail. So the design stays the same, but since it's modular, if it's necessary to increase the size, then we're going to have that information before construction. And you know, and as I said, improve the intake conditions for inmates and staffs right now, right? Make their lives better right now. Don't wait years for a new jail to do this. Metrics, we talked about them. We're going to be able to measure the impact on a reduction in jail average daily population. How many people we were effectively able to, that came into the Sally Port, that we were able to divert, number of individuals released within, you know, 8 plus or minus hours of admission to interim central booking. So how efficient are we at making timely, not rushed, but timely charging decision and bond decisions. Number of charge reductions as a result of the prosecutor, law enforcement, public defender, private counsel consultations, right? Maybe we're going to be able to measure how many times that, you know, charges were lowered appropriately from, let's say, maybe on the felony track to a misdemeanor track, and other metrics. So finally, the $2.4 million is not in terms of the capital, is not wasted, because we're going to continue to be able to, after the new jail is completed, use this as the import area, the staging ground for when we have to transport inmates from the new jail to the Justice Center. So we're still going to be required to use all the infrastructure that we built with very minor modifications when we build the new jail. We need to transport the inmates from the new jail to this Sally Port, where we house them in either the open waiting areas or the cells, be able to feed them if necessary, and then use this as a staging ground to take them up to the courtrooms. So that $2.4 million investment will continue long after it's not used as a central booking area once the new jail is constructed. Yeah, so I won't go through all this, but you know, each of these bullets represents the areas that will continue to have value from video court appearances, because we could do court appearances for pretrials right from this central booking area, which will no longer be central booking, right up into the courtroom. You can have conference and interviews with video capability if the attorneys want to meet with their clients earlier before court, etc. So with that, that's the end of the presentation, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and ask if anybody has any questions for us.
Hey, Bob, I think you put everyone to sleep.
Did they all leave? That's not funny.
I guess I'm looking at Becky. Do you see any chats or questions? I guess this is a good time. Anyone has any comments or questions or thoughts or ideas or something that God knows you could see all the work they put into it, anything that they missed even. Anyone have any thoughts? Wow, I'm surprised. Judge, is Judge Early on? I don't know if Judge Early's on. Judge Early, do you want to say anything?
Good afternoon. No, I think he pretty much covered it in terms of what we're looking to do. I'm still working on our partnership with Common Pleas Court and looking at the numbers regarding the multiple dockets.
Good, good. Thanks, Judge Early.
Yep.
Anyone else? Beck, do you see any questions on the chat? I don't have the chat.
I do not.
Okay.
Becky,
Wow.
I'll get this in a PDF and I'll send it to you.
That'd be great,
Okay.
Bob. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Bob. And listen, this task force, I can't believe as I'm sitting here thinking about it, we've been doing this, Becky, almost a year. Isn't this crazy?
Sure.
I mean, I was looking at my calendar and realizing that this is the week we were meeting with Dr. Boutros and Bruner from Metro Hospital saying, hey, this COVID virus, it's not a matter of if it lands in our jail, it's when it lands in our jail. And that was a call to action for all of us to get moving. And I'm sitting here thinking, gosh, look where we are now. It's pretty amazing. All right. So that's the report I have. I didn't know how long, I didn't go to committee reports or anything because I figured there might be Q&As on this. I didn't see any, but maybe after some people read and review it, Bob, the next meeting, they might want to ask more questions about it. Fair enough?
Okay.
All right, good, good. I guess I'm going to go to any of my colleagues and judges if they have anything. And Becky, it's okay. I know we got a 2 o'clock stop. We got 20 minutes. Does anyone have any reports or anyone want to report out on what's going on? I know Judge O'Malley from juvenile court, if he's there. Judge O'Malley, you might want to explain what's going on in juvenile court first.
Hey, thanks, Brendan. We're up and running, but what we had changed was that we have no screeners at the doors anymore. We went live with the computer screens. You know, you walk up to it and it tells you if you have a temperature. There's no more wristbands, and it seems to be going great. We haven't had any issues yet, and the flow through the building, getting into the building and in the elevators, has been seamless.
Great, good, and those are the monitors that we eventually they're in the county buildings and they're going to be moving towards the courtrooms. And instead of having the screeners handing out this thing, you'll be seeing these pretty cool screens. And that Bob Coury and his staff has been working hard on that. So I appreciate that, Mr. Coury. Thanks, Tom. Let me ask anyone else have any other judges? Judge Francine Goldberg. I see Judge Goldberg sitting on her bench, always working. I haven't seen her in a while. Judge Goldberg, you want to give us any updates from your court?
Hi, Judge. How are you? It's nice to see everyone.
Becky, you look amazing. I haven't seen you in ages. No, things are good. I think they started the screening Tuesday, but there's like no one in the building. I think it's probably the safest place to be in domestic relations court is about right now. So I'm hopeful that hopefully judges will get vaccinated soon. That's the hope. And everyone should just be safe and healthy. But I mean, thankfully, because of the grant that we received from the Ohio Supreme Court, we're doing the majority of our work via Zoom, and it seems to be working. And I think litigants are really happy, and the attorneys are happy with the customer service that we're providing for our families. So that's a good thing during these very unprecedented times.
Thanks, Judge Goldberg. Good seeing you. I see Judge Early, anything in Cleveland Municipal Court you want to update anyone on, or?
No, we're still having, we're still postponing our jury trials till after Common Pleas goes forward with theirs. And then, but we are having bench trials. So obviously keeping in mind the limitations in the courtroom and the social distancing. So.
Thank you, Judge Early. I see anyone from the Court of Appeals on? I see everyone.
I'm here. I'm here,
Oh,
Judge Boyle. Yeah,
Judge.
nothing new to report, nothing new. Same old, same old. Working hard.
Thank you. Thank you. I see Judge KJ Montgomery from court over there, the Muni courts, suburban Muni courts. Do you have anything you want to report out on?
I think we're all still scattered to the wind. I think every time they come up with a new eviction moratorium for the Muni courts, we all sort of scratch our head and go, now what are we going to do with those cases? We in Shaker have pushed off our juries until May. And I know a couple of the courts are dabbling with juries. So I think everyone is just trying their best.
Okay, great. Thank you. I saw Frank DeSantis on, did I miss any court, by the way? Is there any courts on there? Any other courts? I see Clerk Bird. Clerk, do you want to give us any update on what's going on in the clerk's office?
Hi, good afternoon, Judge. There really is no update. We're continuing as we've been since right around the summer, where we are fully staffed and hopefully providing service to the 3 courts that we interact with. So no real updates. We're just continuing to do what we do. For what it's worth, you know, we are in favor and assisting Chief Coury when we can on the central booking process. And that's all.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Clerk Bird. Thanks. I see Andy Goldwasser's on. I guess, Andy, I'm going to ask you if you or Dave or anyone from the Civil Committee wants to give us a teaser about what you're working on and what you're going to be reporting out on next time we get together. Andy, are you there?
I think Andy maybe still logged in, but he had a 1:30 call that I think he stepped away from. So I would ask if there's anybody other than Andy from that group that wants to talk. Nope, doesn't look like it.
The operative.
Actually, I can, Becky.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah, Mark Wachter. We had a get together yesterday, also by Zoom, of sort of a subcommittee of the civil group, taking Judge Sheehan's charge that we take a look at what has worked, whether it'll continue on after COVID is over, and what we're working on. And I think Andy's going to be circulating a questionnaire to our sort of subcommittee, is just that. What things have we implemented that have worked? In particular, the mediation program. What kinds of things do we need to do to continue that? And I think the consensus was that we're hoping that the bench will continue to feed that program and move cases into mediation. Perhaps have some discussion with the bench about what's appropriate for a case to go to mediation. What kind of motion rulings should we be looking for? So anyway, we're working on that. Andy's going to be circulating a questionnaire, and I would expect by the next time we get together, he'll be able to report back out to everyone.
Hey Mark, it's Andy. Thank you so much for filling in for me. I'm actually just waiting for the court on my other line. But another thing that came up, Judge Sheehan, yesterday during the course of our call is we were wondering if there are any statistics that the court might have to show us the extent of the backlog. We do know that from one of your last presentations, the number of new filings have been relatively consistent over the last year. But what we don't know is actually what the actual backlog is of cases.
Yeah, Andy, let me talk to our IT folks and see what I can find, and I'll send that out over to you if I can get to that number. Okay, that'd be good.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. So look at I feel.
Judge.
Yep.
Hi, Mark Obrel. One of the other judges, I'm not a member of any committee, one of the other judges asked that I attend this because the problem a lot of civil cases are we're all double and triple book. And it's nice to say, well, we know they're not all going to go, but that it's really tough scheduling doctors and things of that nature when you have 3 trials that are not going to go. I'm just wondering if there's any way, and this depends on the answer to how many backlog cases you have, that you could say, okay, we're really going to start civil trials on this date and work from there, rather than just on April 29th when we know it's going to be all criminal cases.
Yeah, Mark, I hear what you're saying, and I think if we stick with the plan that we had back in September, and the bench agrees with that, it would, we're not doing business as usual, as you will recall in common pleas court. We won't have juries just sitting down in the courthouse waiting for you. We are going to schedule those cases, and those cases, we're bringing in juries for those cases. And in your scenario, 3 or 4 cases, well, we're going to work on a trial matrix on the civil side, similar to what we're doing on the criminal side, to make sure that the scheduling of cases wouldn't be Mark Obrel has 5 cases going this one day or 2 days or whatever. So and that there'll be more discussion on this. I mean, I'm throwing it. I know it's March 3rd, and we're talking early May for this to happen. There'll be more communication with the civil bar and this group as we keep marching forward. Okay.
And Mark, it's Andy again. On that point, we spoke about that exact issue yesterday during the course of our subcommittee call, and I'm certainly happy to send you an email and invite you to the next call, and would love to hear your thoughts and get you involved.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think, Becky, I think our next meeting with this group is, we've been doing it every 2 weeks, is March 24th. Is that correct?
Right. We moved it because of St. Patty's Day, which we know is a citywide holiday for some.
I thought it was. Did I say that? I don't recall. All right. Anyway.
I didn't attribute it to you. I just said for some.
All right. All right. So so March 24th, that gives everyone it gives Andy's group a good time. And I really look forward to hearing from that group on that day. And maybe by then, Mark, we should have some good roadmaps for everyone leading into the May date. Okay.
Judge, the other piece that's going out is, Andy and Mark's group is working on sort of the more specific questions. The Bar Association, as I've mentioned in the past, is issuing a state of the practice survey that is actually scheduled to launch later today. We have divided that survey into 2 different brackets, one for self-identified litigators and one for, I'll just say, everybody else. So the litigator survey does include a series of questions related to experiences in the past 11 months with the courts and expectations about what's coming up going forward. So we'll be sharing lots of data.
Perfect. All right, good. That'd be great. So here, I just want to thank everybody. I really mean, I say it every time. I do have to ask, how do you like the view from here? Instead of my no windows in the courtroom, I rolled a Mondo pad into my office. So we'll make it a little brighter. maybe with all the vaccinations going on, I feel like it's a new day. Maybe I'll start having all my meetings this way. Anyways, so thank you everyone for joining in. I want to shout out to Mr. Coury for your efforts and what you've done and presenting. I know there'll be questions after people review this and that. We'll have more questions that keeps moving the ball forward. So thank you for putting that together for us. All right.
No, it's easy when the stakeholders make it so easy to present their work. It really is. Thank you, Judge.
And Becky, I want to thank the bar and everyone for tuning in. And March 24th at 1 o'clock. So thank you. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.